You're useless. You keep making mistakes. You're not meant to do it like that. Why don't you get it? You just don't get it. These are the ways not to give feedback. If you want to find out how to give constructive feedback to somebody and feel more comfortable with it, come on in, let's chat. Hey there, hope you're well. In this video I'm going to share a couple of tips just to help you feel more confident giving constructive feedback to team members. Before I get into that, if you are new here, then welcome. My name is Coop, and through these videos I aim to give you tips and advice to help you get on at work and progress your career, so please do consider subscribing. Now, giving constructive feedback to team members is an essential skill for all managers, but it is one that takes a bit of time to master. It's not always easy to tell somebody that they are underperforming or that they're not meeting the required expectations, and it's especially difficult when you're not quite sure how they're going to respond. First of all, why do we give constructive feedback? There are many reasons why we give constructive feedback and lots of benefits to be gained from it, but for me the three main things are: one, to raise awareness of the underperformance and where it's happening and to investigate why it's happening. Two is to provide clarity around the expected standards, whether it's in relation to quality, productivity or even behavioural. And thirdly is basically to improve the overall performance of the individual and help them get up to the required standards. So when do we do it? Now, feedback should always be done in a timely manner, but it's reasonable to give constructive feedback when you have either observed an area of concern, but make sure it is something that you've observed and not something that somebody else has just told you about, or when you've got some data to back it up. So if you have some stats on maybe productivity, then you can address the area based on that. So how do we do it? Now, the key to giving constructive feedback is in your ability to address and raise the area of concern with the individual and making them want to put it right. Now, I'm hoping this goes without saying, but obviously do make sure that if you're providing feedback that you're doing it in a private setting. Nobody wants to be shot down in flames in front of their colleagues and peers. So when you're in the feedback session, start by explaining what you want to talk about. For example, today I want to talk about your email productivity. Next, let them know what you've observed or can tell from the data. Now, this is where you might want to use the acronym PEG, so that's the Performance Expectations Gap. So essentially what you're going to do at this point is to say, okay, your level of performance is here, the expected level of performance is here, and this is the gap that we now need to work on and help get you up to where you expect it to be. During the conversation, make sure you're asking for their views. Ask them why they think there's an underperformance or what they think the issue might be. And it's really important that you do this because it may uncover something that you're not aware of. It may be incomplete training, or maybe there's something going on at home in their personal lives that they need to make you aware of. Next up, discuss and agree the areas for improvement, and it's really important that you engage the individual at this point, because asking them how they feel they will improve and what they need to bridge that gap will go a long way. Now obviously you can go into the meeting with your own thoughts about it, but it's useful to have a two-way conversation about it rather than you saying, I want to do this, that and the other. Now, some of the ways you might do this could be more training, or it could be introducing a bit of a buddy system for the individual. So during the feedback session, make sure you also summarise the agreed actions and also agree the period for review. Now, depending on the subject of the underperformance, it could be weekly, fortnightly or monthly. I wouldn't recommend going any longer than monthly, because obviously if it is an area of underperformance that you want to address, you don't want that underperformance to be going on too long before you review how the corrective action is being taken. Finally, after the feedback session, you do want to make sure you document the discussion and the agreed actions. So do follow it up with an email, just setting out the key points discussed and the actions agreed, and make sure you send a copy to the individual. Now, I know you're only talking informally at this stage, but it's useful to have a history of every conversation that you've had, because should it get to the stage where you need to take a more formal approach to the underperformance, then at least you've got a record of all the conversations you've had previously and the support you've put in place for that individual. The main thing to remember is, of course, that your role in this is to provide support, encouragement and reassurance to the individual that you want to help them and support them in reaching the required levels, and that you are confident that they are able to do so. It's really important that you maintain their self-esteem throughout the whole process, because if you start to knock their confidence, then it's just going to make it more difficult for them to reach those expected levels. So there's my tips on how to provide constructive feedback. What's your experience of providing feedback and how do you feel about it? Let me know down in the comments, and remember, if you found this video useful, don't forget to hit the like button. So that's it from me for this week. Take care and I'll see you soon.